Out of the gates and ready to go. Welcome into this live edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. We got a loaded show ahead as we'll bring you the latest news and rumors on your Seattle Seahawks. Talking about a potential trade involving DK Metcalf. Also, Trevis Gipson. We'll get to that coming up in just a little while from right now. Speaking of trades, with the trade deadline approaching Tuesday, is trade deadline day. We'll go over our final trade targets for the Seahawks ahead of the deadline. We'll also preview Sunday's matchup between your Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams. And as always, we will answer your questions with a mailbag segment coming up at the end of the show. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of today's program. As you guys file in, shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from as we're coming at you from the Chat Sports Studios here in downtown Dallas, Texas on this Wednesday afternoon. Let's see where you guys are at. I got Daniel saying, hey, everybody. Thomas Bridges, my guy, already talking smack, saying Rams going to bust our asses this week. He's trying to pretend to be a Seahawk fan. I like that from Tom, trying to just sneak his way in there, but we know where he's really coming from. Where else we got? We got King in London. I got Josh in Tacoma. I got Cecil in Olympia, the state capital. I got Aspect in Iowa. Steve J in Seattle, Washington. Dan the Man Miller back in the chat in Spokane, Washington. Tom in Coweta, Oklahoma. That's his hometown, right? He's actually from Bartlesville. He's really on one today. I got Blake in Bellevue. I got Rodeo Clown in Houston. I got Christian in Oregon. Dark Diamond. This is a little weird. He says, watching from Tyler's closet in Texas. Okay. Jake in Marysville. I got Seth in Laverne, California. Leonardo in Vegas, baby. I would love to be in Vegas right now. Debbie in Tacoma. Got Aspect Effect in Iowa. Dr. Pepper, my favorite personal drink. And Dr. Pepper's checking in. I just lost it in Alaska. Got Andrew in Juneau, Alaska. Is it daylight out there or is it dark? You guys got some weird sun patterns out there. I got Dalton in Eatonville, Washington. Layton in Lafayette, Louisiana. Size in Lewiston, Idaho. I got Kevin in Yakima, Washington. Let's see. Cecil says go Hawks. I got Mitchell in Knoxville, Tennessee. I got an ex-girlfriend out there. Christian in Dr. Pepper says Dr. Pepper's God tier. Nick in Newland, North Carolina. Got Paul in Hawaii. Got Seth in Laverne, California. Who is a player the Seahawks should trade for? We're going to be talking trade targets coming up in our second segment of today's show. Who is somebody that comes to mind that you would like to see the Seahawks pick up? They still have about $9 million in cap space. So they could, in theory, still pull off a trade before the deadline if they decide to. Who is somebody that comes to mind that you would like to see? Way in the chat right now, let us know. Christian saying Tom Brady. Don't think that can happen. Eric says Ray Lewis, also not happening. Blake says Brian Burns. I don't think the Giants are giving up Brian Burns. King says bring back Bobby Wagner. How about no? Christian says Adam Vinatieri. We're going all the retired names today. I find that a bit odd. Main Street Paul says that Metcalf needs to be traded. Dark Diamond getting very weird today. First he said he was in my closet. Now he's calling me his Pookie, saying I look handsome. Thanks. I'm not having a great hair day, to be honest, but I'll take the compliment. Let's see. Leonardo says lineman. Let's see. Thomas says Anthony Richardson. That was a video posted on our main channel, actually. I think Tom Downey did it the other day, naming the Seahawks as a trade destination for Anthony Richardson. Dark Diamond saying Rob Gronkowski. Cage saying Riddick. Smitty in the house on the ones and twos today, hanging out with us as he joins us for the very first time. Smitty, is there anyone that comes to mind that you would like to see the Seahawks trade for?
Interesting. I'm not so sure because, I'm not super tapped into who's all, on the block right now and who out of those players would necessarily move the needle for Seattle, make it worth their while to give up draft capital or something of that nature. So I don't know. I really I just don't know the names that are out there right now. I think that as far as positional things go, they need some help at depth corner, maybe. Obviously, the offensive line, but it's super difficult to trade for offensive linemen.
Right.
I know we just saw one yesterday.
Very rare.
Very rare. But a guy that we're going to talk about later in today's show is a teammate of the player, or was a teammate, I guess now, of the offensive lineman Cam Robinson, who was traded to the Vikings yesterday.
Yes.
So it can happen. And actually, I think that's the second time in 2 seasons that the Jags have traded away an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year
They just
it was
love getting Trevor Lawrence cooked.
Last year they made a trade with the Vikings. Remember?
Oh, yeah. So the 2 years in a row they made an offensive line. They've given 2 offensive linemen.
Who was it the Jags traded to the Vikings last year? I'm trying to remember.
It wasn't Sheriff. It was
Oh God, who was it? It was
a guard. That's all I know.
I remember this. Anyways, folks, let us know who you think the Seahawks should trade for. All right, I got 145 people tuned into the chat. If let's do this. I want to get the chat really popping. I know we got 150 people here, but I want even more people than that. So Smitty's going to shout out everybody that spams S over the next minute. I want to see as many people as we possibly can spam at S, and this is our rallying cry. We do this on game days here on Seahawks Today. We get the chat pumping. It's as if we're in Lumen Field. So I want to see as many S's as we can over this next minute. So get those S's going. Smitty will shout you out.
What up, 12s?
Let's get this thing going. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And Christian Rainville got us cooked off. Shout out to King HD. Shout out to Paul Muddy, Blake, Nick Daniels, Ty Man the Buckeye. What up, Ty Man? Bunga Boy. What up, what up? Alejandro Garza. Some new names in the chat today. How's everybody doing? Steve J, Bunga Boy, Aspect Effect, Seth K. Aloha, Dark Diamond. Sorry, Seth, we were late. It's on me, brother. It's all good. Chris, Phobia, Jake, Seth. Come on. Shout out to everybody in the building, helping us out, getting the algorithm, getting the chat pumping.
30 seconds in. Keep going.
Seahawk Dreams, Rodeo Clown, Dan the Man Miller, Jake Van Beek, Aspect Effect, Chris, Steve J, King HD, Ty Man, Rodeo, King, Aspect. Who's that? Dalton. What up, Dalton? Seahawk Dreams, Bunga Boy, Dan the Man. Oh, man, there's some real MVPs in the building right now. Love to see it.
10 seconds left.
Josh Woodard. What up, what up? Adam P. I'm trying to see some new names before this clock runs out. Jonathan Marker. You're canceled from society. What a name right there.
Yeah, that's a new one.
HD, Dalton, Bunga, Rodeo, Jake, Tyman, Blake. Shout out to everybody in the building. Thank you guys so much for helping us out.
You're canceled from society. I'm very curious. Were you somebody else and you changed your username? Is it your first time in the chat? I have never seen you before. That is a wild username.
It's awesome.
I need some context. Give me some context. If it is your first time you're canceled in society, welcome. Welcome. We are a very welcoming place here on Seahawks Today. We're at 23 likes right now. Let's get to 50 to start today's show. I will crack open my first cold can of Miller Lite. That's what we're going with today, a fine Pilsner beer, when we reach 50 likes, and we will get this show started. Hit that like button, and let's have ourselves a day today. It is a Wednesday. Who said we can't get turnt on a Wednesday? I'm down to have a great time today, but we need you guys' help to make it happen. Like the video. 24 likes right now. Once we get to 50, then we will get this show started. Seth says, yo, like the video. He's got the right idea.
Seth knows what's up. He's a real one. He's been here for the longest.
Yeah, Seth's been here for a while. Yeah, sure. We're not late. The clock says we start at 5. It says that on the stream, and it is 5:10 right now, Central Time.
And we've been live for 10 minutes.
Yes, we've been live for 10 minutes. It sounds like you're late, Yasher, not us. So there we go. When we get to 50 likes, we'll get this thing started. 8 likes away from 50. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We'll go over the latest news and rumors on your Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk about potential trades involving DK Metcalf as well as Trevis Gipson. We'll also look at some trade targets ahead of the trade deadline. We'll preview the Seahawks matchup against the Lambs. And then we will do a Q&A rumors mailbag. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of the show. And if you'd like to send us a Super Chat, we can get turnt on this Wednesday. It's up to you guys. First-time Super Chatters get the Seahawks chant. $5 Super Chat, we'll do the old McDonald's song. $10 Super Chat, we'll take some shots. $20 Super Chat, we'll do a beer bong. $50 Super Chat, we'll get sauced with the Seahawks sauce. And if we get to 300, we'll do a jungle boot. I have not seen our guy Buster Customs just yet. He actually was not in the building on Sunday, so it might be up to you guys to carry the load and not have Buster Customs bail you out. So I would love it if Buster's here. Maybe he's here and he hasn't said something yet. But I think we all need to do our part if we want to have a great time today and set the tone early for the Seahawks as they take on the Rams this week. We always say it on game days. When we drink, we score. We drink, we win. Why not get the drinking started a little bit early on this Wednesday as the Seahawks return to practice today and everything? Just set this week up on the right foot. Whoever sends in the first Super Chat today, I guarantee you, we're going to show you some love. We'll go a little crazy for that first one that comes in. $sign next to the chat box if you want to contribute. We did reach 50 likes, so here you go, folks. Ah, there it is. Cheers, my friends. Go Hawks. All right. Without further ado, let's get started with our first segment as we're talking rumors on DK Metcalf and Trevis Gipson. We will discuss those trade ideas and more as we get started here on this live Wednesday edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Jonesy and Smitty here with you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's get this thing started right now. You're watching Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. We got a big show on tap today as we'll be talking about potential trade interest for DK Metcalf. There are several teams reaching out to see if they can snag the Seahawks star receiver. We'll get you the latest update on that coming up in just a little while from right now. Also, Trevis Gipson. He arrived in Seattle not too long ago, hasn't seen the field too much. Is he on the trade block, and where could he potentially land? We got some ideas that we'll discuss coming up here on today's program. I want to do a bit of a challenge to end the month of October. Halloween is tomorrow. I love Halloween, personally speaking. It's not a satanic holiday like some people say it is. What I want to do today is I want to set our likes record for the month of October. The most likes we've had on a single video is 679. Can we get 1,000 likes on today's video? If you are a Seahawks fan, if you love that we bring you daily free Seahawks coverage, you want to see the Seahawks beat the Rams this week, like the video. Simple as that. Help us out, like the video, we'll get started with today's show. We begin with this report from excuse me, folks. All right. Take two. Here we go. We begin with this report from the Washington Post's Jason Lockenfora, their NFL insider, who says that there are multiple teams interested in a potential trade for Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf, that they are inquiring to see if the Seahawks are willing to move on from him. Here's what Lockenfora had to say. Brace yourself for DK Metcalf to become this week's Cup. The subject of plenty of chatter, enterprising general managers are reaching out to Seattle Seahawks GM John Schneider, as they have in the past. Seattle has two quality wideouts, and Metcalf's contract makes him the most obvious to deal. If any wide receivers are to be dealt, but interested parties aren't optimistic. Metcalf is one of Schneider's favorite players, and all at 4-4, the Seahawks remain in the playoff hunt, despite losses in 3 of their past 4 games. But widespread injuries have increased demand for receiving help, and the deals already made have diminished the supply. With a rookie head coach, Seattle is looking for long-term assets, so if nothing else, Schneider will have plenty to mule. Now, I'll say this, folks. This isn't new. We've been talking about the idea of DK potentially being on the trade market for years, right? A lot of teams have shown interest, and it's been the same thing from the Seahawks every single time. We're not interested in giving up DK, but that's not stopping the phone from ringing. Of course, teams want DK. DK's in the prime of his career. He's one of the best receivers in football. He's one of the best deep threats out there. I totally understand where these teams are coming from, and they see how good DK is and the position Seattle's in at 4-4, they got to be saying to themselves, maybe they're willing to move on from him. But from the Seahawks position, it just doesn't make sense to trade DK Metcalf. DK is arguably the best player on this football team, at least on this offense anyway. And he means too much to what the Seahawks are trying to do with this offense. And not to mention, the return on the investment just simply isn't there. The time has come and gone to potentially move on from DK Metcalf. If they traded him a couple years ago, we'd be talking about them getting a first-round pick. But now, with the way the wide receiver market has gone, with some recent trades that we've seen as of late, with Devontae Adams going for a third-round pick that can become a second-round pick, Amari Cooper getting traded for a third and seventh-round pick, things have changed. The market's just not there, so it doesn't make sense for Seattle. I want to keep DK here, and I'm also looking at a position where I'm just not going to get back what I feel he's really worth compared to what you could have gotten a couple years ago. So I'm against the idea. What do you guys think? Should the Seahawks trade DK Metcalf? Type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Weigh in the comments section and let us know what you think. Seahawks Today is bringing you the best Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else with our daily news and rumors, our live shows every Wednesday, watch parties every game day. We are also bringing you breaking news. If there was a trade, like if DK was sent off or if they brought in another big player, we would bring you a video as quick as we can here on the channel. We are your one-stop shop for all things Seattle Seahawks. If you love the Seahawks, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. We got you covered each and every day here on the channel. Here's the other thing with DK, of why I am adamantly opposed to the idea of trading DK Metcalf. He is playing the best football of his career right now. I know he didn't play this past week, dealing with that knee injury that he suffered against the Falcons. But DK's just been on a tear in 2024. He's already set a couple records. The most consecutive 100-yard receiving games in franchise history with 3. He also set the franchise record for most 50-plus yard receiving touchdowns in a career as well. DK's been on it. And you look at the numbers of what he's been able to do this season. 61 targets, 35 catches, 568 yards, averaging over 16 yards reception and 3 touchdowns. He has been a problem for opposing teams to deal with. Trading him now would just be flat out stupid. It would be dumb to move on from DK Metcalf. And I know some of you are saying that, hey, wide receivers are expensive and they're replaceable and all this. I think last week was a prime example of what this Seahawks team looks like without DK Metcalf. You have literally no vertical passing threat at that point. You cannot afford to move on from DK. The $30+ million it's going to take to pay DK, that's worth it to Seattle. It may not be worth it to some teams, but to this Seahawks offense, with the way they have it structured and what DK does, you can't move on from DK Metcalf. Who is a player, though, the Seahawks should trade? Who is somebody that comes to mind that you'd like to see Seattle move on from? Let us know in the comments section. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered, folks. With Game Time, the thing that I love about Game Time is their last-minute tickets, their flash deals. Let's say that you're deciding on a whim. You know what? I want to go see the Seahawks play tonight. Well, you're in luck with Game Time. The prices go down the closer it gets to kickoff. You choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. Then you choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, get the visual, and then you're checking out on Game Time with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. And with Game Time, they have a couple cool features. One of them is their seat views, where you get the 3D look, see what the seat is like that you're choosing. It's a great tool. They also have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's going to be one you don't want to pass up on. And with Game Time, we got a great offer that we are providing our viewers here on Seahawks Today. If you use the promo code ChatSports at checkout, you will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, first purchase only. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. What time is it? Game Time. Check out Game Time today. Another trade idea that's being thrown out there by the folks at NFL Trade Rumors is suggesting the Seahawks move on from edge rusher Trevis Gipson and send him to the Detroit Lions. The Lions, of course, without Aiden Hutchinson for the remainder of the season, their star defensive player. And you look at Gipson, he's been kind of phased out of this Seahawks defense despite Seattle trading for him at the beginning of the season. NFL Trade Rumors saying the following. The Lions' need at edge rusher is well documented, and head coach Dan Campbell admitted after Week 7 they probably need to make a move. If they strike out on some of the bigger name options, Gipson is an interesting fit for starters. He's got size to fit into the team's four-down front and isn't just a third-down rusher like some other players available. Gipson had 7 sacks and 5 forced fumbles in his second year back in 2021 with the Bears, so there could be some upside in a rotational role for Detroit to tap into. Now, you look at it for this Seahawks team, you think about this. You had all these injuries that they've dealt with, right, at the edge rusher spot. We've seen Boye Mafe get banged up, Derek Hall, Draymond Jones, among others here. And even with all that, Gipson has been nowhere to be found. They have not called upon his name. Mike McDonald has looked at him every day in practice and said, yeah, no, we don't need to put you on the field. If you look at his snap count this season, folks, this is it for Trevis Gipson. All they've played Trevis Gipson is 47 defensive snaps and 28 special team snaps. That is it at this point in time. So if you get rid of him, you're getting rid of a guy that essentially you're not using hardly at all. And this is where I look at the trade idea, and it's a little bit concerning because the trade idea that's being thrown around is you get a conditional 7th-round pick, which is less than what you paid for to get Trevis Gipson in the first place. So while I'm not opposed to the idea of trading Trevis Gipson, it does make me sit in this position of, oh, great. We're trading him and we're getting less back than what we paid for. That's not so great. You look at the statistics, though, for Trevis Gipson, and this season, we mentioned those snaps that he's been a part of. No stats, none. Has not recorded a single tackle, nothing. Compared to what he did in previous years where he had as much as 7 sacks in 2021, he's just been nowhere to be found. With that said, I think that you look at Gipson, and some people may point to that, hey, it's not his fault, he's not given a chance and all this. Believe me, Mike McDonald is not biased against Trevis Gipson whatsoever. In fact, I would say that there's probably a decent chance he encouraged the trade, that there was something that he liked. The fact that he's not getting snaps, not getting time on the football field, that's an indictment on him. That's not an indictment on this coaching staff. Should the Seahawks trade Trevis Gipson? Type T for trade, K for keep. Weigh in and let us know. If you enjoyed today's show, if you are a big-time Seahawks fan and want to help support us, simply like the video. Every like helps, goes a long way. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today. All right. So there you have it. I have made it known. Hell no in trading DK. As far as Trevis Gipson goes, I am of the belief that I wouldn't mind getting rid of him, but Smitty, to the point I made earlier, I don't like the idea of getting less than what we paid for.
I mean, you're going to probably not even get... The thing is about these receivers that have been traded, the Amari Cooper and the Devontae Adams deal, those guys are older.
Yeah.
They might be under contract. Now, Amari Cooper isn't. He's on a rental. But Devontae Adams will probably be in New York next year. The thing is with DK Metcalf is he's still in the prime of his career. He's still super young. Could that command a higher piece of draft capital? Fit back to Seattle, maybe a second-round pick? Maybe, but I don't even know if I would trade a second for DK. He's already as good of a receiver as you could probably find in the second round.
Yeah. Smitty, let me catch my breath for a second.
Sure.
Go over the Super Chat menu, if you will, and then we'll jump into our second segment. We'll also catch up on Super Chats here in just a moment.
No problem.
Folks,
I can catch up on the Super Chats, too, while we're gone.
Just got hit with a random golf. I feel fine. I think it was the Zen that got me this time, but I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Smitty's going to take over for a quick minute.
All right. What up, 12s? Got a couple of super chats to roll through here. Shout out to everybody in the building, and shout out to you if you have contributed to the show. It is more than appreciated. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. First one that came in, Minecraft Soft, saying, Happy Halloween from Ireland. Now, when I saw this come in, I was multitasking a little bit. I looked on my phone. I was like, what time is it in Ireland? It's almost midnight. It's 10:13 in Ireland right now. So, almost Halloween for them. So, happy Halloween, Minecraft Soft. Shout out to you. Robert Hale with a $20 super chat. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Robert!
Get back on track. Go Hawks. Shout out to you, Robert. You are the man. Thank you so much for the $20
Robert,
super chat.
that's going to be a beer bong.
A beer bong.
We'll pay off here with that $20 super chat. Thanks for that. We'll pay off accordingly. There we go. Got the beer bong here. Let's drink away. Our first beer bong of the day. How many of these are we going to do? At least 2 so far. Robert, cheers to you. Go Hawks.
Mac, excuse me. DK got a bad attitude also. I mean, he's been fine this year. I don't think
so far he's been fine.
Yeah.
He was mad at Ryan Grubb at one point, picked up the phone on the sideline and was yelling at him. But honestly, I think we were all mad at Ryan Grubb that day too. So I don't blame him too much for that.
I kind of agree with that too, Six, for MVP. Like, the DK makes our offense move. You saw what it looked like without him last week.
Robert, thanks for that super chat there. Go Hawks. And then Thomas, I told you he was a closet Rams fan.
Yep.
He says, whose house? Get the ball ready. Go Rams. Beat Seattle. Get the F-Toms in the chat. Get the F-Toms in the chat. I know that he's going to appreciate that. Ian, what do you mean? We're right here. Hello. Hello. Good to see you, Ian. Good to see you. Good grief. Tom, you're not coming in here and getting a win. I'll say this, though. Recent history, Smitty, the Rams have kind of had their way with Seattle. That is
what, over the past decade?
It has been a problem facing the Rams.
Yeah.
Last year the Rams got the season sweep. The year prior the Seahawks got the season sweep.
Yeah, because the Rams were so bad that year. They didn't even have. It was the year that Stafford was hurt.
Get the F-Toms. Spam F-Tom. Spam F-Kawita. Cheers to Tom.
That game Baker played for the Rams, that wasn't against Seattle, was it?
It was.
It was, okay.
That was the very last game of the regular season.
Last game of the season.
Went to overtime. Seahawks won. That was a very memorable day on this stream.
No, because didn't Baker win the game he played with the Rams?
No.
He didn't even win?
No, they lost. That
he just balled out.
That was week 18.
Yeah, he just balled out. That was the game that sent the Seattle to the postseason.
Yes, because then the Lions beat the Packers that night.
Yep.
Jeffrey Cooperstein was with me. We were live. That was the infamous Carey night.
That was that night.
That was that night.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. You'd already been doing a watch party for
hours
I was at that point.
I remember too that night. A little behind the scenes, folks. So I'd been saying we drink, we score, we drink, we win. It's been working all game. And Mitchell Renz comes in the studio, and I can hear him behind me say to Coop, "Working all game. They've scored 13 points." We were leading though, so it was working. But
true.
Tom, thanks for that super chat there. All right. Without further ado, let's get to our next segment as we're talking trade targets for Seattle. We will go over 5 players at 5 different positions that they could potentially bring in. Then we'll do our game preview, and then we'll do our Q&A mailbag. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of the show. Let's get after it. Segment 2, trade targets, begins right now. Big move coming? Could be. With the trade deadline quickly approaching on Tuesday. There's also something else important going on Tuesday. I can't remember what it is. We are going to talk about 5 potential trade targets at 5 different positions for your Seattle Seahawks of who they could potentially bring in. They have about $9 million in cap space, so they do have some flexibility. If they want to make a move, they can do so. We'll discuss it coming up here on the show. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. 12s, I need your help. We are closing in on 59,000 subscribers here on Seahawks today. We're under 300 away from reaching that next milestone. I would love to get there before Sunday's game. Can you guys make it happen? Subscribe now. Join us for a watch party on Sunday in addition to our daily coverage here on the channel here on Seahawks Today. Doesn't cost you a thing. Absolutely 100% free. Subscribe now. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. Let's begin with Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell, the veteran, the future Hall of Famer, hanging out in Miami with the Dolphins. And this was a name that came up as a potential option over the offseason to reunite with Mike Macdonald. The two had some very good success together in Baltimore. And the reality is that when you look at this Seahawks defensive line right now, Jonathan Hankins has been absolutely atrocious. He has been awful. Byron Murphy's been solid. Jaron Reed's been solid. You look at some of these other pieces here. Leonard Williams has had a good year. But Jonathan Hankins has been a liability. And it's no secret the Seahawks have had some rumblings about potentially finding an upgrade from Jonathan Hankins. Calais Campbell could be that guy. Calais Campbell, the former Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner, the most important award in the National Football League, so I'm told. I disagree. I think it's the MVP. But nonetheless, Calais Campbell, you look at the resume, first team All-Pro in 2017, a six-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Player of the Year in 2017. He's been successful everywhere he's been. An impact player so far this season with 2 sacks. Last year in Atlanta had 6.5 sacks. The year prior in Baltimore, 5.5 sacks. And they always say that Father Time is undefeated. Well, Father Time lost to Calais Campbell. And with the Dolphins just a hot mess right now, I think if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you could potentially get a very good player as a rental just for this year to help fix your problem on that defensive line, be an upgrade from Jonathan Hankins, and could be the difference in you making the postseason or not. Should the Seahawks trade for Calais Campbell? You got 2 options here. Type T for trade, P for pass. Weigh in on our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know. T for trade, P for pass. Up next is Jadeveon Clowney, the edge rusher from the Carolina Panthers, a former Seattle Seahawks player. And I know a lot of you are not fans of Jadeveon Clowney, that every time I mention Jadeveon Clowney, a lot of people just kind of sigh, like, really? Jadeveon Clowney? We went through that experiment. It didn't go so great. But think about beyond what he did in Seattle. When he worked with Mike Macdonald, his career was revived. He had a revival. He was in church on Sunday with Mike Macdonald, basically, in Baltimore, as he was fantastic, had his best season he's had in a long time. And he goes back to what we've pointed to of the Mike Macdonald success story with these veteran edge rushers. Clowney, Justin Houston, Kyle Van Noy, just to name a few. Clowney fits that exact mold of a cheap pass rusher at the back end of his career that did very well in Mike Macdonald's system. Last year, 9.5 sacks compared to the year prior in Cleveland when he had 2, 9 sacks the year prior to that. This season, you look at the Carolina Panthers team, they're just kind of a hot mess. So far this year, he's had 19 tackles, 3 TFLs, and 1 sack. You put him in this Mike Macdonald defense, I think he'd do much better than what he's doing in Carolina. And the Seahawks wouldn't ask much of Clowney. They would just ask him to be a pass rushing specialist. If he was able to stop the run, that'd be nice. If he was useful in coverage, that would be nice. But that's not what they need. They just need more guys to get pressure on the quarterback, and Clowney could help in that sense. If you had to pick one to trade for of a former Mike Macdonald player, would you go with Calais Campbell or would you go with Jadeveon Clowney? Type CC for Calais Campbell. Type JC for Jadeveon Clowney. Weigh in the comment section and let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories to choose from. And Prize Picks has got a great deal they're offering right now, folks. When you spend $5, they're going to give you $50 to spend for free. You don't even have to win to get the $50. This week on Prize Picks, I'm going with JSN to have more than 54.5 receiving yards, especially since we don't know what DK status is going to be. And this one I feel is pretty easy. Jameis Winston. I love the guy, but Jameis, more than half an interception. You better believe Jameis is going to throw an interception. The guy threw 30 in one season. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/SailNS. Promo code SailNS. The link is in the comments. and the description of today's video. Check out Prize Picks today. You want offensive lineman? I got an offensive lineman for you. Let's go Walker Little of the Jacksonville Jags. Now, I will say this. The chances of Little getting traded have gone down since the Jags moved on from Cam Robinson. And they have said that they're giving Walker Little a trial run to see if he could potentially get an extension. But it is a fire sale in Jacksonville right now. And if they got a good offer for Walker Little, I don't think they'd be opposed to trading him. He's got some real talent. When he's been put out there, when he stepped in for Cam Robinson and others, he's shown that he's capable of playing at a high level. But he hasn't really, I think, gotten a fair chance with that Jacksonville Jaguars team, personally speaking. And when you look at the numbers of Walker Little, what he's done, according to PFF, we'll get to that here in just a bit, it might surprise you. He's got experience at both left and right tackle. So with the question marks surrounding the right tackle position for Seattle with Abraham Lucas, we're waiting to see how he looks when he comes back. George Fant as well. Walker Little could be a nice stable piece for that right tackle position. And you think about this. Charles Cross on the left side. What's his specialty? It's pass blocking. Well, Walker Little is much better in run blocking than he is at pass blocking. And what have I been saying, folks, for weeks on end? What's been my message to Ryan Grubb here? Run the damn ball, right? Well, if you want to run the football, if you want to improve that run game, Walker Little can help in that sense. I think this could be a nice addition for Seattle. Let's stay in Jacksonville with the fire sale going on with the Jags, with the Khan family who feel like they're just a bunch of cons, to the rest of the National Football League. Go stick with AEW and get out of football as far as I'm concerned. They're not doing so great with AEW either. Smitty could back me up on that. You look at Andre Sisco, this could be a long-term fit because you think about this. Rayshawn Jenkins did not show enough to confidently say that when he comes back from injury that the Seahawks should bring him back. In all reality, Rayshawn Jenkins very well may have played his last down with the Seattle Seahawks, which leaves Seattle searching for answers long-term at that safety position. Sisco's still a very young player, a third-round pick back in 2021. And I found this stat very fascinating, folks. The nerds over at Sports Info Solutions say that since 2022, he has saved the Jags defense a grand total of 78 points. Now, you may not know what that means, and that's okay, but I'm just going to put it in a nutshell for you. That's a lot. He's had a huge impact on Jacksonville's defense with 55 career games played and 41 starts. You look at the statistics of what he's done so far this year, off to a decent start, 1 interception, 4 pass breakups. He's been a ball hawk, 4 interceptions last year, 3 interceptions in 2022. I like Andre Sisco a lot. I feel like he's one of the most underrated players in football. Who's a player the Seahawks should trade for? Who comes to mind that you would like to see on this Seahawks team at the trade deadline? Weigh in and let us know. Last on our list, let's go to the tight end position. This is where we find Austin Hooper of the New England Patriots. The Seahawks are using the tight end position more than what they've had previously under Ryan Grubb. I know a lot of you have been pretty pissed at Ryan Grubb, and I understand where you're coming from. But one improvement we've seen is them effectively use the tight end position. And Noah Fant has had a breakout year of sorts, if you want to call it that. But behind him, they've had some question marks. A.J. Barner hasn't done a ton. Pharaoh Brown hasn't really done a ton. If you want a real pass-catching tight end, Austin Hooper may be your guy. A 2-time Pro Bowler, a lot of experience, 130 career games played with 73 starts. And the Patriots are so bad, we know that this is a team that's trying to sell off everything. You could probably get Hooper pretty cheap. You look at the numbers. His best season most recently, you go back to 2022 when he had 41 catches for 444 yards and 2 touchdowns. Could be a real red zone threat either. Remember, Noah Fant in the previous regime wasn't really used as the red zone tight end. So you could have Hooper as the red zone threat and then use Noah Fant potentially in the as you're driving down the field in that type of passing game in that sense. So there's some ideas for you for continuing Seahawks coverage. Subscribe now. If they trade for any one of these players, or anybody else for that matter, we're going to talk about it here on the channel. We'll break it down for you. Subscribe now. Stay up to date with your team. We are going to be all over the trade deadline here on the channel. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV to subscribe for free today, and we'll see you next time. All right. We are halfway home. Up next, we will get to our game preview segment, and then we will do a Q&A mailbag. We did miss a first-time super chatter. Thomas Bridges has texted me to let me know that there was somebody we missed. We will catch up on that here in a moment. Stand by for that. Thank you, Tom, for alerting me of that. If you had to pick one, would you go with Calais Campbell or would you go with Jadeveon Clowney? Type CC for Calais Campbell. Type JC for Jadeveon Clowney. And let us know in the chat which way you feel. Smitty, which way, if you had to choose between one of those two, I think I lean towards Clowney.
Probably lean towards Clowney. We probably need a little bit. I don't know, though. Do we need more help on the interior or on the edge?
It depends on how you feel about
I don't feel good about Hankins.
I
don't feel good about him. So I probably, if for need's sake goes, I would take Campbell. But as far as production, familiarity, I would go Clowney. So maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. Maybe I'm weak for that.
All right. We got a first time super chatter. Big Schiff.
For Big Schiff, C.
Hawks.
C.
Hawks.
C.
Hawks. Let's go. Spam Big Schiff. Spam Big Schiff in the chat. We'll include this in the mailbag segment. Thank you, Big Schiff. Welcome to the big show. Glad to have you here. Phobia is asking when Uchenna is coming back. He might be done for the year, I hate to say. But I love Geno, but is it time to move on from him? Not right now. Maybe in the offseason, but at least not at the moment as far as that goes. But, yeah, we're not benching Geno for Sam Howell. That's not happening. But it's a fair question. I think that until Geno's play improves, then that's going to be a big topic of conversation. But Big Shift, thanks for that $2 super chat. Welcome to the program. Thanks for sending in that super chat. Dan the Man Miller, we'll do the old McDonald song for him, says, could Grubb and McDonald get fired if we have a losing season? I say yes to Grubb and no to McDonald. I think Grubb's got some work to do, especially if they can't get this run game going. Then I wouldn't be surprised if they potentially make a change to the OC spot if they don't figure it out. McDonald, definitely not getting fired. McDonald, he's been a whole lot more good than bad. I like Mike McDonald. I still believe in Mike McDonald. A lot of changes going on that he's had to endure.
And people buy into Mike McDonald, too. Like, the players like him.
Yeah. So I would be very surprised. Like, there would have to be some type of scandal. Like Mike McDonald get caught sleeping with an intern or something to get fired.
Celtic style, yeah.
Yeah. Or Urban Meyer style. He would have to.
Urban wouldn't be. We don't want to go down that path, Mike Mack.
Mike Mack, don't be hanging around a bar on a Thursday night, leaving your team to take the team plane home and be grinding on some 21-year-old. As long as he doesn't do that, yeah, he's going to be back next year.
I will say, I think it would have to take a lot. It would have to take a lot. Like, I think the Seahawks have to finish with like they'd have to the rest of the way. They'd probably have to go 6-11 for me to be like, okay, Ryan Grubb's got to go.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that even if they went 7-10, that he would be gone. I think you got to give a guy more than one chance, especially it's a first-time NFL OC. We know that they brought him here in mind to change up the style of the offense.
It's a totally different offense.
It's a totally different offense. So he's got to adjust to that. They have confidence in. They wouldn't have hired him if they didn't. So
I think somebody does have to get Ryan Grubb's attention and be like, you got to figure out this run game.
Yeah.
You can't be doing what
he was going to go be the OC at Alabama. You don't think they run the ball? Like, was he going to turn Alabama into an air raid offense?
That was the plan.
Damn. All right.
And that's what they're doing because it's his former quarterbacks coach that's now the OC at Bama.
Yeah, I guess I kind of realized that they don't really run the ball as much.
And what do you know? They got 2 losses.
Yep.
Alabama not running the football, and they've lost 2 games. I don't find that coincidence. Mm-hmm. Probably beat Vandy at Tennessee if they would have run the football a bit better. I don't find that coincidence at all. Dan the Man Miller, we will give you the old McDonald song. A 1, a 2, a 3. Old MacDonald had a farm, C-I-E-I Hawks. Very ironic we're singing that when we're talking about if he should be fired or not. But nonetheless, Dan the Man, will include that in the mailbag segment. Dan the Man, by the way, so I promised you that I would take care of your shipping on your clock that you won over the weekend. I took care of everything last night. I have sent it off to our shipping department. So be on the lookout. It should be coming your way in the coming days. I did take care of it this time. I was not bad like I was about that jersey. I have you covered. I said I would. I took care of it. So now it's just up to our shipping department to take care of the rest from there.
Haven't gotten any questions yet.
Let's go back to Super Chat menu real quick. We need some questions for the mailbag. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of today's show. I would love to see Phobia and Ian and Jason and Adam and everybody get in on this mailbag segment. Use that hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat menu. We're at $50 right now. We got to get to $300 to get to a Jungle Boot. First-time Super Chatters will get the Seahawks chant. $5 Super Chat will do the Old MacDonald song. $10 Super Chat will take down some shots. $20 Super Chat will do a beer ball. And $50 Super Chat will get sauced with the Seahawks sauce. $sign next to the chat box. If you would like to contribute and take part in today's show, we would love to show you guys some love and get you some screen time. When you send in a Super Chat, you get your message on screen, you get your avatar, your name, and all that. We'll take care of you accordingly if you send in a Super Chat. All right, let's get to our game preview segment. Yeah. And by the way, I put, just for so you know, I put two matchup graphics in there. One has where you can put on the left side the odds, and the other has the records. And I also filled out for the full screen, too, to show the we'll go to it. Start with me on the left, and then as I'm talking, go to the full screen. I filled in that information. That's a little business for you, folks. Inside baseball of just our graphics approach. There we go, Rilo. That's a great question for the mailbag. SYK. That's another great question for the mailbag. Keep getting those questions in. Like Jefferton, I want to see you in the mailbag, too. I want to see everybody in our mailbag segment. I love the Super Chats, but just sending in a hashtag Seahawks question works too. Whatever you guys are more comfortable with, we certainly would appreciate. There we go. Phobia's got a question. I see another Super Chat rolling in too. Halloween tomorrow. What are you guys dressing up as for Halloween? What are some of your favorite costumes that you've been for Halloween? I have to, on Sunday, be a Seahawks cheerleader. We've already got it figured out. We found a bow and pom-poms. I'll wear my jersey and all that on Sunday. So I will look the part. I will not be the best-looking Seahawks cheerleader. I could promise you that much, but the effort will be there. My favorite Halloween costume of all time that I was growing up, my mother, when I was in the first grade, dressed me up as Zorro, which if you may not know this, folks, Zorro, that's like a PG-13 or rated R movie of sorts. So I was the badass kid in first grade that got to be Zorro. And the kids that knew that I was Zorro, that could figure it out, I was the cool kid. Wow, okay, he's a badass here. He's Zorro. I got to carry a fixed sword and everything. That was probably my favorite Halloween costume of all time that I dressed up as. What about you, Chat? What are you dressing up for Halloween? What are some of your favorite costumes you've been? Space says Bigfoot. That makes sense for Seattle. I bet a lot of people in Seattle dress up as Bigfoot. Emerald City Bush Wookie says Spider-Punk. I don't know what that is. What is Spider-Punk? What else we got here? Give me some of your favorite Halloween costumes that you've been or that you're going to be tomorrow for Halloween. At this age where I'm at 28 years old, I'm probably too old to be dressing up for Halloween at this point in time. But I do love a good Halloween party. Especially, this might be a bonk, but I'll say it anyway. Some of the costumes that you see the females wearing on Halloween, that's a great time. I'll leave it that way. That's That's more of a treat for me than it is for them, What else we got here? Rich says I was Captain Crunch. Rilo Pumpkinheads. Seahawks Dream says vampire as a kid. Rilo says rockstar version of Spider-Man. Let's see. Adam says I dressed up as Woody last year. Did Buzz Lightyear hang out with you? I was surprised that that Woody did not end up with a little spoiler alert in the most recent Toy Story movie. That why is it escaping me? Is his female friend that's right next to him?
Who, Jesse?
Jesse. He didn't end up with Jesse. He ran off with what's
Peep.
her name?
Bo Peep.
Bo Peep.
Yeah, Buzz with Jesse.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I thought Woody and Jesse were going to be together.
That's what it is in the actual like Woody's what do they call it? Woody's Rodeo or whatever thing, like the actual like the actual toys. Jesse and Woody are a thing, but then once they're in the real out in the open, Buzz is with Jesse. It's kind of a cool story. I love Toy Story, man.
I think the Toy Story series is phenomenal.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one to get emotional. Like, I could probably count on my fingers how many times I've cried in my adult life. But I did get a little choked up at that last Toy Story. That felt like my childhood ending.
Yeah.
Now
they're just gonna make another one.
Yeah. So, I thought that was it. I thought that was a perfect ending.
It was a perfect tie the knot. But you know what? It made $1 billion. So
money talks. Rich says it's called Woody's Roundup.
Yes. Damn it. That escaped me. Good call. Good pull.
Are we good to go in game preview now? Okay, cool. All right. Debbie says I'm going as a Seahawks cat. Full cat costume, but my face makeup is green and blue. I like that. I like the creativity there. I've been seeing a lot of folks recently. Somebody kind of explain to me what's going on. Why are so many Seahawks fans mad at Blitz the mascot? What is going on there? I've seen a lot of people in the comments the last couple of weeks have been calling for Blitz the mascot to get canceled, that he needs to go away, that we need a new mascot or something. Why is everybody mad at Blitz the mascot? Please give me some context. I'd be very curious what the hell is going on. Why is everybody mad at Blitz? Blitz would probably be a good Halloween costume. Believe me, there's a lot worse mascots out there than Blitz. Like the Wolf in Kansas City, terrible mascot. Like, there's no wolves in Kansas City. It's a joke. SYK says he jersey swapped Tom Brady. Why is that a bad thing? Tom Brady's a legend. He won 7 Super Bowls. That's the GOAT. Redeem Patriots likes Blitz. Is that really the story, SYKs? Are people really that upset he jersey swapped with Brady? I think that's cool. All right. Game preview time, then mailbag to follow. Hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of the show. Right now, let's preview. What's it going to take for the Seahawks to beat the LA Lambs? We will discuss that coming up as we continue with our live edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Jones and Smitty here with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining us. And let's get this thing started here with our third segment. All right, here we go. It is week 9 in the National Football League. Your Seattle Seahawks face the Los Angeles Rams for the first time in 2024 in a pivotal NFC West matchup. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we'll go over my keys to victory. We'll also break down the injury report, and I'll give you my prediction before we wrap things up. Let's break down this matchup here for you folks. The Rams got off to a slow start to this season, but they breathed a sign of new life with a big win against the Minnesota Vikings last week on Thursday Night Football, and they are right there in the thick of the NFC West, raced at 3-4. And with the trade deadline looming, it seems highly unlikely now that they'll trade Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. The Seahawks coming in off a loss to the Buffalo Bills. They're at 4-4, and it's been a very up and down season for Seattle, for Mike Macdonald in his first year as the Seahawks head coach. The Rams, slight favorites, 1.5 on the road, but Seattle has the statistical advantage in both scoring offense and in scoring defense. If you're ready for Seahawks game day, spam S in the comments section. We do this each and every game day here on the channel. We want this chat to feel like we're in our seats at Lumen Field. I need to see at least 300 S's in the comments section. If you're ready for a Seahawks win, spam S in the comments section. We'll continue with today's show. Let's start with the injury report. This is as of our Wednesday live show, as DK Metcalf remains questionable with the MCL injury he suffered against Atlanta. Corner Nehemiah Pritchett is questionable with an ankle injury, while Mike Morris is questionable with an ankle injury as well. And Cameron Young, the defensive tackle, is questionable with a knee injury. Meanwhile, for the Rams here, let's show you what's going on with their situation. Jordan Whittington, the wide receiver with a shoulder issue, he's questionable. And then Tyler Higbee, their tight end, with a knee, ACL plus MCL, he is out and could be out for a while. Higbee's been a problem for the Seahawks to deal with, so I'm sure they're not, I would say, concerned about Tyler Higbee not playing. They've kind of relieved. Hopefully he gets better, but we're not going to certainly miss him on the football field there as far as that goes. Keys to victory. Let's start off with a guy that was a significant problem for the Seahawks to deal with in their two matchups in 2023. That is Puka Nacua. Nacua was outstanding as a rookie, and he took the world by storm in his NFL debut against Seattle last year, where he went off. Most people didn't even know how to say his name, the rookie receiver last year from BYU. And he went off in that first game. He was really good in the second game. And he ended up in his two performances against the Seahawks with 15 total catches for 189 yards, 12.6 yards of reception, and 1 touchdown. You got him healthy. You got Cooper Kupp healthy as well. That changes this LA Rams offense completely. And Puka Nacua, despite the time he's missed, he's played pretty well in the 2 games that he has played so far this season. 11 catches, 141 yards after a season where he had nearly 1,500 yards and 6 touchdowns. The Seahawks have to keep Puka Nacua in check and limit his capabilities to have a big day. Who do you got? You going with the Seahawks or you going with the Rams? I'll give you my prediction coming up in a bit, but want to hear from you guys first. Type C for the Seahawks, type LAR for the LA Rams. Get your predictions in now and let us know. We'll be live here on Seahawks Today for Seahawks and Rams coming up this Sunday. Our coverage begins bright and early at 12:25 p.m. Pacific time with our hour-long pregame show. Then we'll react to the game in real time, have a few drinks on hand. It's going to be a party. You don't want to miss out. Seahawks and Rams live right here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and we will see you on Sunday. So if you were checking my X account, formerly known as Twitter, a couple days ago, somebody tweeted me out a T-shirt that had my face, and it said, "You got to run the damn ball." And I have been preaching to the choir, I feel, on that the last several weeks, that the Seahawks need to run the damn football, that they are getting away far too much from using one of their best weapons in this Seahawks offense in Kenneth Walker III. When Kenneth Walker III's been appropriately used, he's been very good this season, but too many times Ryan Grubb gets away from the run game. They don't establish the run, and then we see Geno Smith throwing the ball 40 and 45 and 50 times. It gets ridiculous. You have to run the football to be successful in this league. And if you need me to bring you some numbers, I brought the receipts, folks. Here's what I'm talking about of what has gone on with Kenneth Walker in the last 4 games. K9 has been limited to 14 carries or less for 69 rushing yards or less in the last 4 games. Newsflash, that ain't going to work. They have to run the football. They have to use Kenneth Walker more if they want a chance against the LA Rams or pretty much any team for that matter that they face. Number 3 in our keys to victory, let's talk about one of the newest members of the Seattle Seahawks. That is Ernest Jones IV. Last week, he had a pretty impressive debut, and I don't even know how much of the defense he really even knew. Now the gloves come off. The training wheels get taken off for Ernest Jones IV, where he should be able to go full throttle at this point, his second week in this Seahawks defense. And you think about this. Remember, he began his career with the LA Rams, got traded there this offseason, traded from there to the Tennessee Titans. And then, of course, the Titans traded him to the Seahawks a couple weeks ago. But this is his first time facing his former team. And you better believe, for Ernest Jones, this is going to feel personal. This team sent you packing. They sent you away. They said, you're not good enough to play for us anymore. We don't want anything to do with you. Now you're playing for a division rival, trying to compete for the playoffs here. I hope that Ernest Jones comes out there and plays with an edge, that he plays with something to prove out there and goes balls to the walls out there. I want to see this Seahawks team really just unleash and let Ernest Jones have a big day. You go back to his debut last week, pretty solid, 17 tackles, 7 solo tackles, 8 assisted tackles, also had 1 stuff. At this point, watch out. There's no reason for Ernest Jones not to have a big day and to be fully unleashed into this Seahawks defense. Who will be Seattle's MVP against the LA Rams? If you had to pick one player, who would it be and why? Get in that comment section. Let us know who you think Seattle's MVP will be. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered. If you're looking for tickets to see your Seattle Seahawks, you're in luck because with Game Time, it's pretty simple. The longer you wait on your tickets, the more the prices go down. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. They have their flash deals. If you see a super deal, that's going to be one you don't want to pass up on. They have their seat views. You can get the visual, see what your seat is like, folks. Here's how it works. Choose the event you want to go to. Let's say you want to go see the Seahawks play. You can do so on Game Time. They have the prices listed. You choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, get the visual, and then you're checking out on Game Time with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. And we get a great deal we're offering right now on Game Time, folks. We are giving you $20 off your first purchase when you use the promo code CHATSPORTS. Terms apply, first purchase only. Check it out today. Game Time, proud partner of Seahawks today. Glad to have them on board here on today's show. Up next, let's talk about Tyler Lockett. It's time for Tyler Lockett to wake up a bit. Somebody is going to get Tyler Lockett out of bed because last week he was nowhere to be seen. And with DK Metcalf's status in question, even if he plays, we don't know how good he'll necessarily be if he's close to 100% at this point. The Seahawks need more out of their veteran receiver, Tyler Lockett. They are paying way too much money to Tyler Lockett for the lack of production that they got from Tyler Lockett last week. They needed him to come through, and he didn't. I'm not necessarily blaming everything on Tyler Lockett either. I think a lot of it has to do with play calling and putting Tyler Lockett in a position to shine, and Geno Smith obviously has something to do with that too. 1 catch, 9 yards, 3 targets. I don't care if DK's fully healthy. That can never happen again. Tyler Lockett's got to do more. So far this season, 31 catches, 393 yards, close to 13 yards of reception and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett is a pivotal part of this Seahawks offense. Even with JSN taking on a larger role, you got to use Tyler Lockett more. He needs to be an impact player. Last on our list of keys to victory for Seattle is red zone scoring. The red zone was not the friend zone for the Seattle Seahawks last week, as it was a disaster. Their first 2 red zone attempts against Buffalo equated to a total of 3 points. That's it. If you recall, you had the one possession where Connor Williams had the high snap and that put him in field, had to settle for a field goal. You also had the Seahawks failing to convert on 4th down at the goal line. You just can't be doing that, especially when there's not much margin for error against this LA Rams team. And what's so bizarre about what happened last week is the Seahawks, their red zone touchdown percentage is not bad, 12th best in the NFL, close to 58%. The Rams defense has done a decent job themselves in the red zone with a 54 red zone touchdown rate percentage. That's 11th best in the NFL. And it's something the Seahawks have acknowledged. They've made it clear. They got to do a better job of this. Geno Smith had this to say on the red zone issues against the Bills. We had too many self-inflicted wounds. That's been our story this season. We got down there in the red zone twice. We had a shot at points, and we came away with nothing. Well, we got 3 points, but we want to score touchdowns. Those are things that, again, we got to do better at. And he's absolutely right about that. Mike McDonald talked about it this week, too. Got to capitalize in the red zone. Can't be settling for field goals or coming away empty-handed like they did against the Buffalo Bills as well. My prediction coming up in just a matter of moments. But first, who's a player that needs to step up this week for the Seahawks? If you had to give me one player, who would it be? Weigh in, let us know who you think needs to step up. To recap, our keys to a Seahawks victory. Got to take away Puka Nacua as much as you can. Run the damn ball with Kenneth Walker. You got him, use him. Unleash Ernest Jones. Let him go balls to the walls and have himself a day. Wake up Tyler Lockett. I can't be having Tyler Lockett just having one catch. That's not going to work. In red zone scoring, got to capitalize, got to get in the end zone. If the Seahawks do those things, I think they can win this. I know Seattle's an underdog, but I like Seattle to win in a high-scoring affair, 30-27. If you're ready for a Seahawks win, spam W in the comments section. Let's let them know the Seahawks are ready to get the job done this week. Get those W's in the comments, and we will see you on our watch party coming up on Sunday afternoon right here on Seahawks Today. All right. Who do you got? You going with Seattle or are you going with the Rams? Get your predictions in now as Smitty rejoins me. Smitty, you feeling very confident Seahawks can get back on track in the win column this week?
Oof. Honestly, Rams are our boogeyman. Like I'm not too confident, to be honest. Especially Sean McVay against rookie head coaches. I'm sure has a very, very solid record, and he's gonna dial up some good stuff, especially with Kupp and Nacua in the lineup. Like, I'm wary. I do like that you put it at a very short margin of victory for Seattle, because that's what I think it's going to be. I think this is going to come down to the last possession. And screw it, I'll give the Seahawks a win here. Let's get to 5-4.
Even when the Rams were bad a couple of years ago, both those games were close.
Yep. They always play them tight.
Jake says 35-28 Seattle. SYK says Seahawks 24-21. Jake says Seattle 35-28. Get your predictions in. Let us know how you think this game is going to play out. Mailbag coming up next. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of the show. And could use some more questions. We probably need at least 2 or 3 more, Smitty.
Yeah. 2 or 3 more.
Okay, I'm putting 2 minutes on the clock. We'll show you the Super Chat menu while we're waiting. But get those questions in. Hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat, and we will answer your questions on our final segment. Here's what we're offering on the Super Chat menu today. We're at $55 right now. We got to get to $300 to get to a Jungle Boot. First time Super Chat, get the Seahawks chant. $5 Super Chat, we'll do the old McDonald's song. $10 Super Chat, we'll take some shots. $20 Super Chat, do a beer bong. $50 Super Chat, get sauced with the Seahawks sauce. $sign next to the chat box if you would like to contribute. Still waiting on mailbag questions. I need about 2 or 3 more. I got 90 seconds left before we can begin this mailbag segment. Jason Wolf saying Jason Myers will miss a field goal or 2 this weekend. I hope that's not the case. That would be problematic. If Jason Myers misses 2 field goals, the Seahawks are losing. I can tell you that right now. That would not be good. I think Jason's a Rams fan because he's saying Seattle will win the fight on the sideline. Yeah, no more fights on the sideline. Draymond Jones, Jaron Reed, no more of that. We're not doing that anymore. That was disturbing. Redbird says 28-23 Seahawks win. Adam, that's a good question. Why didn't you use the hashtag Seahawks? Put it in the mailbag. Put it in the mailbag, Adam. Hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat for that mailbag segment. I still need 2 more questions. Jason says he is a Seahawks fan. He just sounds like he's not a very confident Seahawks fan. Fair enough. SYK is saying if it's not raining, it'll be 34-17. I haven't even seen the forecast this weekend. It rained last week. What are we looking at for this weekend? I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind a rain game. Let's see. Nope, no rain in the forecast. It's going to be a high of 54 on Sunday. That's football weather, folks. That is football weather. Smitty, I know you're a New Yorker. Where do you stand as far as football weather goes? Do you like a cold environment, or do you prefer the climate-controlled environments?
Football weather to me is right around there, right? 55 to 60 degrees. That's football weather to me.
Do you like a good snow game?
Yeah, once in a while. I wouldn't love being in a spot where that's the norm, or like Buffalo.
Like Buffalo?
Yeah.
Have you gone to any snow games in person?
I have not gone to any snow games in person. I've only been to one Bills game up in Buffalo. As many of you know, I did go to college out by there, and a lot of my friends are Bills fans. So I've been up there before, but never for a snow game. It seems like a lot of fun. I remember that game they had, last year or the year before, where they had volunteers. I think it was last year, where they had volunteers had to come out and shovel out the entire stadium. It's crazy what those Bills Mafia fans will do to get their game played.
I've gone to one snow game. Fortunately, I stayed warm in the press box.
In KC?
In KC, I saw the Chiefs play the Broncos in the snow, and there's a picture. It's somewhere on my Instagram. I'll have to pull it up sometime. Where while it was snowing, I went down to the field pregame, and I ran into Eric Stone Street. And we took a picture together, and we got snowflakes all over us.
Stone Street's Cam from Modern Family?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And he wanted to look at the picture after we took it, and just very friendly, like he says, "That's a nice picture." Here we go. First time super chat from Jake Van Beek.
JVBC!
Hawks! Hawks! Hawks spent JVB in the chat. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the big show, JVB.
Jake Van Beek. Yeah.
Welcome to the show, my guy. That'll be a shot. I'll take that here in just a moment. Let's answer your question first. We'll include this in the mailbag. Do you think we should draft a quarterback next year or keep Geno? What's your plan, Tyler? All right, so here's my plan, and I'll be curious what Smitty thinks. Although I'm not high on the quarterbacks in next year's draft, if there is one you like, then go ahead and draft him, and I would still bring Geno back for the final year of his contract and ease that quarterback in to taking over, whether it's sitting under Geno for a year or taking over at some point halfway through the season. That's what I would do if there's somebody that John Schneider and Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb ultimately like. But, again, I'm not high on the quarterbacks in this year's draft. What would be your plan, Smitty?
I would, if like kind of the same thing. Like if he's there and you like the kid, and your report or your scouting on him is, you got him at a good value, then go take him. Like I would love to see a rookie quarterback coming here to Seattle. Like it feels like we're a little stuck in the mud right now with Geno. He's fine. We just all know that he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Right. And John Schneider, he liked some of the quarterbacks last year. He was a big fan of J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix.
And he was a fan of Anthony Richardson way back when, too.
Yeah.
They were going to take him at 5 if he fell.
But that's been their problem that John's talked about, is that every time there's been quarterbacks they liked, they weren't in a position to get those guys.
Yeah, teams wouldn't give up their position.
Yeah. But Jake, it's a great question. Rich with a $5 super chat. We'll include this in the mailbag too. I see Adam also with one as well. Should the Seahawks consider sacking AD? Yeah, I said it UK style. I like it. And let Leslie Frazier run the defense. Here's the problem, Rich, is that Mike McDonald is calling the defensive signals. Say what you want about AD, but if you move on from him, it's not really going to change much.
He's kind of just a support system over there. He's an advisor almost at the DC spot.
So I don't think that really does you much. Maybe you move on from him in the offseason, but Mike McDonald's still the one calling the shots. He's still the one to blame for the defense. But Rich, that's the old McDonald song for you. It's funny how this keeps happening when we talk about firing people.
That's right.
Old McDonald had a farm, C-I-E-I Hawks. Thank you, Rich. Adam says, you think we should put Spoon at corner? He does play corner.
I think he means boundary corner.
Boundary? Maybe. I like where he's at, but I feel like this is where I get nervous about Smitty. Like, he is so good where he's at. if that's where they feel like that he's at his best, I don't want to take away from that.
I don't want to take away from that either, but I will say, at the end of the day, boundary corner is a more valuable spot than nickel corner. I know it gives him the ability to roam and blitz off the edge and that kind of thing.
It's worked out pretty well for Kansas City this year, moving Trent McDuffie from nickel to outside.
Yeah, if guys can cover, then put them on receivers because we need to cover them.
So maybe
we don't need Trey Brown nonsense. We don't need Artie Burns bullshit anymore.
Josh Jobe.
Who is Josh Jobe? I don't even know.
The fact that we're having the discussion about Josh Jobe or Trey Brown is kind of sad. All right, mailbag, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of the show, and then we will wrap up. Keep sending in questions. If you think of more as we're going through the mailbag, by all means, keep sending them our way. And we'll continue on as we keep our live show going. Phobia says, thank you, Smitty. What'd you do? What'd you do to get that thank you?
Phobia. What did I do, brother?
That's nice. I don't know what Smitty did.
Maybe it was my little mini rant right there about the Seahawks boundary corners being hot ass.
Maybe. All right. Without further ado, final segment. Rumors mailbag time begins right now. It is time to touch our bags and drop our sack on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. It is our mailbag segment, and this is our final mailbag before the NFL trade deadline. So you better believe the 12s have some trade ideas they want to talk about. We will also evaluate where this Seahawks team is at and where they're headed from here. Plenty to discuss on today's show. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. And before we go any further, folks, I want to make sure not only that you're subscribed to Seahawks Today, but you're part of the Noti gang. See that right there? There it is. Right there. Get my fingers right. Turn on notifications. That way you never miss a moment of Seahawks Today. We're bringing you daily coverage. Anytime there's a trade or free agent signing, big injury, we got a video on the channel as fast as we can. We do our live shows on Wednesdays. We're live every game day. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications. That way you're the first to know when we have new content. If you're part of that Noti gang, spam Noti gang in the comments section. Let us know. We'll get started with today's show. We begin with a $5 super chat from Dan the Man Miller with the werewolf at all. Dan the Man writes, could Grubb and McDonald get fired if we have a losing season? I say yes to Grubb, no to McDonald. Barring scandal from Mike McDonald, it would have to be something like, having an affair with an intern, like what we saw with the Boston Celtics a couple of years ago, or Urban Meyer skipping the team plane to, rub elbows with a 21-year-old at his bar. Mike McDonald's not getting fired, so let's start there. He's not going anywhere. Ryan Grubb, here's what I'm looking at. If he doesn't figure out this run game soon, then his seat could get warm. They need to run the football. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm preaching to the choir when I say this. They have to find a way to run the football, and Ryan Grubb's got to figure that out. If they can't get the run game going, then his job very well could be on the line potentially. Dan the Man, thanks for sending that super chat. Jake Van Beek, a first-time super chatter, writes in with a $10 super chat. Do you think we should draft a QB next year or keep Geno? What's your plan, Tyler? So here is my plan. My foolproof 100% plan that will never fail you. If I were John Schneider, I would approach things this way. If there is a quarterback you like in this year's draft, and John Schneider's made it no secret that last draft he really likes J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix. You go back a year prior, he really liked C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson. If there's a quarterback you like that you are in a position to draft, then you go ahead and draft him. And what I would do is I would bring Geno back for the final year of his contract, let him remain the starter, and then set yourself up for a transition, whether it be at the end of the season or mid-season. Let that young quarterback sit behind Geno Smith, especially with the question marks on this offensive line. I have a bad feeling it's not going to be any better next year either. Let them learn how the NFL process works. It's still the best formula. We've seen it time and time again in the National Football League. Tom Brady sat behind Drew Bledsoe. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. Brock Purdy sat behind Jimmy Garoppolo. It's a tried and true formula that has worked more times than not. That's what I would do if I was Seattle, if there's a quarterback I like. I know I don't like the quarterbacks in this year's draft so much, but if there's somebody they're confident in, that's what I would do. Adam writes in with a $2 super chat. Do you think we should put Spoon at corner? I think he's referring to outside corner because obviously he is a corner, but he plays that nickelback spot. And nobody likes nickelback, both on the football field and off the football field, if you know what I mean. But putting him on the outside, I'm not opposed to that idea, but what I'm worried about, Adam, is that if you do that, does that take away from all he's capable of? Does that limit his role by putting him at nickel as opposed to outside corner? Because he plays that nickel spot pretty dang well. And Mike McDonald had a chance to move him to outside corner this year. Obviously, Pete Carroll had him at the nickel, but he felt most comfortable keeping him at the nickel spot too. So that would be my concern. But then again, if you move him to outside, then we're not having to worry about guys like Josh Jobe and Trey Brown being your starting outside corners. So it's an interesting thought. I'm not opposed to the idea, but I'm not confident that that's a great solution either. Rich with a $5 super chat writes in, should the Hawks consider sacking AD? Yeah, said it UK style. I like that. And let Leslie Frazier run the defense. So I feel like I've been the bearer of bad news with answering these questions here. Here's the reality, Rich, and I think it's a very fair question. Mike McDonald calls the defense. He's still running the defense. If you sack AD and turn things over to Leslie Frazier, nothing really is going to change. AD, yes, is by title the defensive coordinator, but this is still Mike McDonald's defense. So I don't think it really does a whole lot if you were to switch roles there as far as that goes. But it's a fair question to ask. I just don't think you're going to see much of a difference on that front. Sad Sherman writes in, could you see the Seahawks trade for Chase Young? Seahawks have about $9 million in cap space. Chase Young, I think, is getting a pretty fat check from the New Orleans Saints. Seattle could use some help at edge rusher. They passed on the chance to go after Chase Young last year, and he was pretty decent for San Francisco in their run to get to the Super Bowl. Had about 7.5 sacks. The Saints are a disaster this season. You got to think they're looking to sell some parts and pieces here. Chase Young, I would say the answer is probably no. I don't think they will, but he would be somebody I would keep tabs on. If the price drops down, if they can get the Saints to take on some of that contract potentially, then Chase Young would be a very good possibility. I mean, he was the number 2 draft pick for a reason a few years ago. Should the Seahawks trade for Chase Young? Type T for trade, P for pass. Weigh in our pinned comment today. Let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players in any given category, get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories to choose from. And with Prize Picks, they got this great thing, folks, that they will give you $50 when you spend $5 for free. You do not even have to win to get the said money. It's a great deal from Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. This week, I got JSN to have more than 54.5 receiving yards with the questions remaining on DK with his injury. I think that's a good one there. Jameis Winston, I have more than half an interception. I love me some Jameis, but he's a turnover machine. I think that could bode pretty well here. You can play along with me, prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Check out Prize Picks today. You'll be glad you did. Phobia writes in, we have success throwing to our running backs. You think we should utilize more quick passes from the backfield? Yes, absolutely. And with the Seahawks' struggles to run the football, one of the things I point to is one of my favorite guys in the National Football League, the best coach in football, Andy Reid. And what Andy Reid has done over the years is, as a substitute for the run game, Andy Reid has effectively used running backs out of the backfield in the short passing game and the screen passing game and been very effective. Andy will be the first to tell you, he doesn't really like to run the football that much. His offense has changed in recent years with moving on from Tyreek Hill and others where the Chiefs have to run the football. But you look back to his days all the way back in Philadelphia with Ryan Westbrook, to even now more recently with Isaiah Pacheco, that is something they've always done a good job of. And if I'm Ryan Grubb, I'm looking at what Andy Reid does, the best coach in the league, and I'm saying to myself, yeah, why can't we do that? Why don't we use Walker and Charbonnet and McIntosh, who are all good receiving backs, as receivers out of the backfield? I think it'd make a ton of sense. The Boz are writing in, would it make sense to trade for Xavier Woods? Xavier Woods, safety from the Carolina Panthers. Seahawks have some question marks at the safety position with the injury to Rayshon Jenkins. We're not so sure if he's going to come back this season or not. Xavier Woods, young player. He's had a pretty decent career, 3 interceptions in 2021. So far this season, off to a decent start, 46 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass breakups, 1 interception. I don't think he's a bad football player, and I don't think he'd cost you a lot either. And the thing about Rayshon Jenkins, too, with him being gone now, in all likelihood, he's not coming back. And so you're looking to find your long-term answer. Xavier Woods might potentially be that long-term solution you're looking for to play alongside Julian Love. So, yeah, Xavier Woods could be an interesting option and not hurt you too much against the cap with just about $9 million right now. Should the Seahawks trade for Xavier Woods? Type Y for yes, in for no. What do you guys think? Way in the comments section. Time for a couple more questions here. Let's start with Jefferton. Jefferton writes in, do you think John Schneider will finally wake up and start building a decent O-line? The entire O-line is being paid less than $20 million total. I'm not getting my hopes up. I wish they would. But John Schneider, for whatever reason, has not invested in this offensive line. Charles Cross is about the only quality offensive lineman that they have. Laken Tomlinson hasn't been good. Connor Williams has not been good. The right guard spot has been a mess with Bradford and Haynes. And then the right tackle spot has just been a disaster, going to your 4th-string right tackle and Mike Jarrell right now. I would hope, and maybe we'll see John Schneider get a wake-up call this offseason, but it's not been good when it comes to that offensive line there. Last question for Brian Gomez writes in, would the Hawks get anything back for Lockett? Well, here's the problem. With the way that his cap situation is structured here, yes, you would get something back, but it probably would not be worth your while with how much you have to pay him either way. It doesn't make sense to trade Tyler Lockett. And I know Tyler Lockett had that bad game against Buffalo this past week and everything, but it just doesn't. The financials don't add up. I think realistically what's going to happen with Tyler Lockett, and it pains me to say this, but I'm going to be real with y'all. I always tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I don't see the Seahawks taking on Tyler Lockett's $30+ million cap hit next offseason. I think he's probably going to be cut, and that'll be the end of it, and he'll go somewhere else to finish his career. I think that they probably are not in a financial position to make a trade right now. I think that's just kind of the hand they're dealt. Thanks for joining us here on Seattle Seahawks Today. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time. All right. We are about to sign off, but a reminder, join us on Sunday for Seahawks and Rams. Coverage begins 12:25 Pacific time. Subscribe now, and we'll see you then. youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Smitty, before we go, any final thoughts?
No, I just hope the Hawks come to play a little bit harder than they did against Buffalo this past week. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I think it's a simple ask.
Yeah.
You doing any Warriors stuff the next couple of days?
Unfortunately, no. They play tonight, but I'm not scheduled for that. Saturday they have a game, so I probably won't be there for that. Probably the next game after that. They got a big road trip coming up, so maybe next week I'll have a couple of games on.
Okay, you got your daily coverage over there too.
Oh yeah, daily coverage always. I mean, I got videos coming out every single day. If anybody's a basketball fan or a Golden State Warriors fan or wants to find out more about what's going on in the Bay Area, youtube.com/Warriors TV, Warriors Today Chat Sports. Hit me up over there.
Yeah, and listen, we know that Seattle doesn't have an NBA team right now, and that's the key word right now. I think that the Sonics will come back, but I'm sure we have a decent amount of people that stay loyal to the West Coast and are Warrior fans out there. Go check out Smitty's channel and support him with the Warriors channel, doing a great job with that. And we will sign off here in just a moment. 12:25 Pacific time for Seahawks and Rams. I'll be here. Big Tex will be here. Hopefully you will be here. We'll see you then. For Smitty, I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great night. So long, everybody.